Peace. Today's Wednesday, the 23rd, which makes today's math, wisdom, understanding, all being born to power, refinement. Wisdom is your ways and actions and your wise words. Understanding is the crystal clear picture which is drawn up in the mind from knowledge and wisdom. Power is the truth. The truth is the light that brings one out of darkness, and refinement is what cleanses. So we want to cleanse ourselves mentally as well as physically on this day. Wisdom, understanding, all being born to power, refinement. Peace. All right, welcome back to the YANADAMEEN GODCAST. I'm Lord Jamar.
Welcome back. I'm your girl, Alex, FOXXYALEX, to the #1 in for the Queen, Rod Digger.
Digger. If you just tuning in, Digger is at a wedding out in Denver, enjoying herself in sunny Denver while we're here in
she ever
in New York, cold and rainy and shit today, but it's all good. Joining us is special guest from myblackHeritage.com. Natlee Green is in the house with the YANADAMEEN GODCAST.
Natlee.
And when we left off, we were talking about shit. When you do genealogy, and sometimes you're doing research and you come across shit that you're not even sure you want to tell a motherfucker
Absolutely.
about. Like you talking about incest and murderers and all type of crazy shit.
Yes.
What's that like?
The very first time, like I said, finding it in my own family was one thing, but for my first client where, something like that came up, she hadn't known the cause of death of her grandfather, and he attempted suicide, or he committed suicide. I wouldn't say attempt. And that was on his death record, and I didn't know how to. Part of me was just like, well, just tell it. It's facts. It's history. But I had to, tread lightly.
Because somebody in your family committed suicide.
Right, direct ancestor.
It's a sensitive thing to say.
It is. So, now how I go in, and I put disclaimers out. I'm like, I'm liable to find, things that you necessarily didn't want to know, and how much of that, do you want me to share? So I get permission, because they have to know that once I get in and I start looking at death records, I can see the causes of death. When I look into the newspaper archives, if they owed taxes on their land, then they were arrested. Like I've found all type of stuff. So
this motherfucker died of syphilis.
That's what makes me not want to know. Like, oh, okay, I'm good. I was gonna,
your grandfather died of
at first, but
leaky dick disease.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, that's what it was. But
I don't know if I want to know all that now. But
you also find out really interesting stories. Like two of my great-great-grandfathers were both in the Civil War. The black one was a Union soldier. The white one was a Confederate.
Wow.
And here I am. They were on the battlefield. Who would have known that X amount of years later, their bloodline, would be sitting here talking about them. So I find some really great stuff.
So let's get personal right now. You did a genealogy research for me. Now, first of all, explain to the people how there's a difference when you're doing research. There's a difference between, what you're finding, where you can find things. You have online, but according to you, online represents maybe about 10% of what's out there.
Absolutely. It's limited. It's great.
Right.
But it's also very limited.
How are they able to get away with that?
You mean just as far as having the information? A lot of it is public information anyway, especially of the deceased. If they were deceased for X amount of years, it's just public information. So
you have
it's not
census records.
But if somebody goes online and invests money into thinking that they're going to get an entire exact precise breakdown of their background.
Okay.
Through genealogy, through one of these ancestry.com websites
again,
or something like that.
Well, yeah, they do.
And then you're telling us that those sites only provide 10% of the information
that's available out there.
Right.
See, like you got to go to actual courthouses and like beat the pavement to find the other 80%
Like
of
what
shit
you
that's
do,
out
right?
there.
Well, exactly. And so a lot of the documents as well, they're still being transcribed. So it's not even about them not wanting to. It takes physical manpower for people to go through these actual physical records, not only scan them in, but to transcribe them. They're written in, you know, cursive, which, you know, some people, I don't even think my kids are learning it at school now. So just even to be able to read that old handwriting. So it takes time.
Right.
So you're going to have the most, you know, efficient research when you go in to the records halls or the, you know, city hall or in any place, the courts, to see these documents yourself, because they're just not available online yet. But they're, you know, every day they're updating.
But see, that's the thing. When they go, all these websites are making mad money right now because people are like going online, investing in these websites that they're advertising, that are telling you you're getting a accurate representation of your genealogy, and clearly
that's
they're
what
not.
I'm saying. 10%, and that's 10% on the paper trail. When it gets to the DNA, it's much lower. But anyway, that being said, though, within that 10%, there's quite a lot that you can find out, okay, which is very encouraging. So my paternal family name, right, is DeChallis, okay? D, small e, capital C, H-A-L-U-S, a French name.
Very beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Now, you always got rumors in your family about where y'all from. Motherfuckers is like, yeah, you know, DeChallis, that's a royal French name. It's from a noble family and all this fucking shit and blah, 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 blah. And we from Guyana. But then when you hear the French name, some people say Haiti. So, you know, I'm hearing all kinds of shit growing up as far as where we're from and all of that type of shit. And then I meet Natlee Green, someone that actually does this.
Change your life.
I'm like, Natlee, this is the shit I'm hearing. Could you fucking verify or, you know, disclaim, whatever the case may be?
And Natlee said,
hey, give me some, you know, give me this, give me that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go to town and do what I do. Yes. You know what I mean? So she started tracing that DeChallis name, and sure enough, she traced it back to a town in Guyana called Buxton. Buxton, Guyana. Now, Buxton was it used to be a plantation that was purchased by the former slaves of that plantation. Okay, it was about, I want to say about 50,000 acres or something like that. Yeah. And it was about 130 slaves or something like that who saved up money now because Guyana at the time, first of all, slavery ended earlier in the Caribbean, you know, than it did in America.
Right.
So as they were weaning off of slavery, they had a thing where like you had to do certain hours, but if you worked over those hours, you can get money, you can get paid or whatever. So a lot of people, I guess, were saving money, and so they bought their plantation once they were able to do that. Then there was a neighboring town called Friendship, and now that was even like 70,000 acres or something like that, and those slaves bought that town too. So yeah, these were free slaves who rebelled at the time. Like when these people in Guyana, once they became free, the white people, they wouldn't even work for the white people, like not even for money. They refused to work for the white man, even for pay. And at that point, they had to import Indians from like East India.
Wow.
Into Guyana in order to do the work, because the people, the original people there, refused. And the original people consisted of Africans and what was called Amerindians. So that's where we traced it back to, Buxton, Guyana.
Yep.
I'm still trying to find out, because I'm trying to trace that original side.
Right.
I also traced, the white side does go back, because there is a convergence where we see that at that point, the father of my great, he was a white man from France.
Right.
Okay. Now, I don't know if the woman was an African woman or an American Indian or
And that's why, again, visiting these places, right? Because these
next stop, Georgetown, Guyana.
Exactly. And then
booking my ticket ASAP.
Yep. So it's very important, if you have the time or the resources to, hit the pavement, go into the towns where you're at least as far back as I could go for you. If you can go there and then do your own research, or get my ticket, I'll come with you. But we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And that's not online. That's the part that is.
So,
right, you got to pound the pavement. You got to do the research.
Yeah.
Now, what's so cool about this is, like, as you're doing the research, she's sending me documents where I'm seeing the actual handwriting of, my great grandfather, describing his occupation and, his children. And, the shit is just super.
See, now, how rare is that, though? Because at the same time, you're saying coming across the records of African American families and the genealogy you have to study here in the United States. How rare is that to come across a handwritten document? It goes both ways. It really depends on the situation. If your family had like military ties, oftentimes I can find their doctor's records, their signatures. It really just depends. It's case by case basis. So it it varies.
Now, first of all, there was no slavery as far involved in this side of my family.
Right.
He came here through Ellis Island. Now, when you hear about Ellis Island, it's always the Italians and the Irish and the Russians and the Jews. Everybody, all the Eastern Europeans claim, I came through Ellis Island and I'm an immigrant but they don't talk about all the original people, the people from the Caribbean, and even people from Africa and all other countries, India, all kinds of people came here to America. And the Vasari was the boat that my people came over here on. Okay?
Wow.
Like I know the actual boat. They got claims about all these slave ships, which we'll get into later, because where are these motherfuckers? Okay, right. Trust me, they'd be proud. If they had all them slave ships like they said they had, where the motherfucking ships at? Okay? But I seen the picture and the fucking the schedule and all of that shit for the Vasari and the different ships that this company owned and all of that type of shit. And I saw the handwriting of the Ellis Island entry into America. He was from Guyana by way of St. Kitts.
But what's interesting about Ellis Island too, not to knock off the conversation, but there are organizations that give tens of millions of dollars to the Ellis Island Foundation that sustains Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, I believe. Maybe not. Either way, we know it's connected to Ellis Island. They give tens of millions of dollars to make sure that Ellis Island actually is able to sustain itself and is open every day so kids can come there and visit the island, and so that they can keep it as a museum like that will never, it's a national treasure. It's a historic landmark. And that's something it may be, just saying, they contribute to what records are kept at Ellis Island.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, but that, again, is just another way to feel like we're more connected to this country, more than they want to let us know. We're part of it, you know what I mean? So just knowing that, to me, makes me feel like a better person to know that, this is our country and here's the facts. Stop trying to say, like you said, they brought us over. We've been here and we've been, migrating here. So.
Okay, so we were talking, earlier about finding out things that you might not be happy with.
Ignorance is bliss, okay? Sometimes
Now,
over here.
you know, everybody has a certain romanticism
Oh, no.
about how they, you know, the shit they want. Oh, turns out I was a fucking king or some shit, or, you know, my fucking family was a war hero,
No,
or whatever the fucking case may be.
Look.
Okay, so briefly, you know, we got like 5 minutes left, right? So briefly, I'm gonna tell you this a quick story. Okay, so my mother, right, was adopted by, you know, the woman that I know as my grandmother, rest in peace, Miss Dorothy Brody. Now, somehow my mother knew the first and last name of her father, and she only knew the first name of her mother. Now, a lot of weird shit was going on because, like, somehow she has memories of being around her mother and all of this type of shit. Like, she was with the mother, but then the mother put her up for adoption. It sounds like a postpartum depression type of thing was going on at the time because she broke up with the man or some shit. They were supposed to get married, but then the mother sabotaged the wedding. And then so at that point, she didn't want to keep the child and all this type of crazy shit. And then
sounds like a soap
then
opera.
my grandmother was like maybe some sort of relation to this woman and end up adopting my mother.
Wow.
Okay. So but she didn't really know her father like that, but she did know his first name, his last name, and even the fact that he was a police officer. Wow. I'm not gonna say the nigga's name and all that because you know, I got mixed feelings about this motherfucker abandoning my moms and all that type of shit.
We all
You know
got
what I mean?
I don't think I know a my family situation. Oh my God. That's why I'm like, now knowing what
Like, hold
Natlee
on.
is sitting up here telling me, I'm like, I'm good with what I know.
But-
what I know already is bad enough. Like, I don't want to go no further.
So listen, so once she got me all that DeShalis information, which was a lot of positive information that I was happy with, you know. So now I had her doing my mom's side. Like, I was like, yo, she's adopted. Just see what you can do, you know. Or she don't know who her mother is. She only got a first name on the mom's. She's like, all right, boom. She do a little thing. Boom. She comes back. Yo, I found him. I'm like, what? I found him. Yo, here it is. Yo, there was a wedding announcement.
Right.
Like, even though they didn't get married, they were supposed to get married.
Yeah.
So you put in a wedding announcement in the paper, and it had his name, and then it had the first name, and we found the last name of my mother's mother. And it was like,
And we found her mother too.
yeah, we found her mother too.
wow.
Yeah. And the shit was kind of crazy. I was like, oh, you a bad motherfucker, Natlee Green. Like,
Wow.
you finding adopted people's families, all that's some crazy
Newspaper
shit right there.
clippings and postings.
So real quick, as we're now doing research of this family, you know, I'm starting to do research of my mother's father, you know. And at first I'm finding out some cool shit, you know. Turns out like he from Harlem, and, you know, his family is known in Harlem. They grew up in this building with
Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson.
Their neighbor.
Get
this
out.
nigga's teaching them how to throw a football and all this type
Paul
of shit.
Robeson?
Yeah.
pretty
These
dope.
niggas ended up they was playing like part-time in the Negro leagues
yeah.
for like several baseball teams.
Big,
okay.
yeah.
They fucking
They were part of the 369th Infantry.
yeah, the 369th Infantry in Harlem, which was like a famous black regiment in Harlem. They played in interracial ball out in Hawaii.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, like before
They were living life.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
before they
Wow.
was doing a lot of shit.
They
And
were
that
well
they was
together.
out in Hawaii for the military, but then I guess they was out there playing ball. So that was all positive shit. Right now, what I'm about to tell you is gonna erase all of that positive shit.
Come on with the skeletons.
And it's ironic.
The drama.
And it's ironic,
It is
okay?
ironic.
Let's go.
So, my direct grandfather was a police, right? Now, his brother, right, turns out he was a police too, but he took it on some, worked for the Department of State.
He did, yes.
So he works for the Department of State.
What year was that?
This was in the 60s.
Wow.
And he was the first.
Ooh, that was
first
when
African
that was when all the shit
was
was
the
going down.
first
That's when all the government cover-ups was going down.
He was the first African American,
Ooh.
you know, officer in the Department of State. Now, this is kind of like the shit he's doing is kind of like some FBI-ish, CIA-ish type of shit, right?
Yeah.
So, what I found out about this dude, who basically is my uncle, okay, is that
Dun, dun, dun.
this motherfucker was involved in surveillance of no other than
Wait for it.
Malcolm X.
Oh, that's a hurt feeling.
The irony
I thought
of it
you were
all.
gonna say Richard Nixon or some shit. Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, Jamar was not happy. He was not happy.
And Jamar went.
Not only did this sellout motherfucker was spying on,
Be still my heart.
taking license plate numbers down at meetings, sitting in meetings and
Get your hand out my pocket.
reporting back and all of this type of shit. When Malcolm, I think when Malcolm like left the Nation of Islam or something like that, he was actually tasked with going to ask Malcolm like, what's your motherfucking intentions or something to that effect.
Yep.
Get your hand out my pocket. Oh,
Ooh.
that's a hurt feeling.
I mean,
sorry.
when I tell you that me and my brother Reality are just so disgusted,
Oh yeah.
and like that last name is for us now is synonymous with just
Yeah. Yeah.
being a fucking
a low down, dirty motherfucking.
I mean, I guess this
ass
why,
bitchin' ass.
you know,
Oh,
But here you are.
I was
Damn,
born,
oh damn,
to right
damn,
the wrongs of the past.
Pre-alive. Maybe not.
The irony.
It
of
hurt
all.
my heart.
Yeah. You were not happy. I was on
So-
I
that
know
phone
you
call.
weren't. I know you weren't.
Listen, this is how much I love y'all, Godcast, that I'm going to actually sit here and keep it real with y'all like that. This is what happened. But at the same time, you know, this is from the baby leaving side of my family. And we also went on to find out that, you know, my mother actually has like a brother and sister that's alive right now.
See, that's the
Yeah,
that's the
I
upside
contacted
of
the
it.
brother, and you know, he wasn't very receptive.
Oh no! What you do? Hang up on your face? You
Nah, he
can't
ain't
even
hang
find a
up
phone
on
number.
me.
What you?
He ain't hang up on me, but I tell him the story, and I'm like, I know this shit gonna sound crazy because they didn't know. He didn't know that
I
his
want you
father
to talk
Yeah,
to my
they didn't.
friend
gave.
Tone.
See, that's what I'm saying. They
Dial
didn't.
tone.
They didn't know that their father had a
Yeah.
child
Yeah,
before the mother that you see what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Come
and
on.
gave it up for adoption and all that. So now I'm telling you some crazy shit
Right.
about
About
your
your
No,
pop.
but you know
Right.
what? Listen,
You understand?
I don't. Me being from the hood, being from New, I don't know anybody that don't have at least one of those stories in their family. Now,
So
one
listen,
person.
listen.
We
the
all
nigga,
got
listen,
one of those.
Listen, long story short, right?
Wait.
Listen, the long story short, the nigga, I'm telling him,
We
so
all
I'm telling him
got
the
it.
whole shit, and so at the end, I'm like, yeah, so you know, I don't know, maybe one day, if it's possible, shit, maybe y'all could, you know, meet up or something like that. I don't know. The nigga said, I don't know about all that.
What?
Motherfucker. You piece of shit. Fuck you then, nigga.
Where are they though? Like, was
He's in Harlem. He's in
oh,
Harlem.
they're still in Harlem.
He's in
The
Harlem.
He's in Harlem.
He's in Harlem. I ended up getting up
Damn.
with the sister. She was much more receptive. I haven't got up with her, but we did get on the phone, and she was cool. And the shit is crazy. I seen this picture of her son. He looked just like my
yours,
brother
yeah.
when he was a kid. This shit is
That
shit is crazy.
That goes to show you could be living next door to your family all your
Absolutely.
life and not even know
Okay,
it.
so
Absolutely.
be careful who you
Right.
messing with.
And then here come she gonna come along and do your genealogy.
Okay. Be like incest alert.
See, don't do that.
Listen, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna get into some more genealogy stories, genealogy stories, and I also want to touch on a little bit about, like, first of all, we're not all fucking slaves, and the fact that a lot of us were already here as what they call Native Americans. When we come back. Peace. It's the absence of all confusion. United we stand, divided we fall. Two fingers together is the real peace sign, y'all. Brand Nubian peace gear. Hoodies. T-shirts. Snapbacks. Available at hoodg.com. Get yours today.